occupation before the war?
I'm a film critic.
List your accomplishments.
Well, sir, such as they are, I write reviews and articles for a publication called Films and Filmmakers. And I've had 2 books published.
Welcome to this very special crossover edition of Everything is Permitted and Geeks with Kids. I'm the host of Everything is Permitted, Julian Brown.
And I'm Eric, the host of Geeks with Kids.
And we are here pitting our Matts against each other in a battle to see who has the superior list of top 10 films of the decade. So, gentlemen, please introduce yourselves. We will go with our friends over in Canada first. Matt.
Hello, everyone. I am Matt Moore from Geeks with Kids.
Hello, I am Steve from Geeks with Kids.
And I am Matt from Everything is Permitted.
Yeah, I know, but we already screwed that up, so it's all right. So just go ahead.
And I'm Brittany from Everything is Permitted.
As they said, joining us is EIP co-host Brittany Tobes and Geeks with Kids co-host Steven. Is it Chu or Chow? Sorry, I'm awful.
Chu.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's Chu. Yeah, no worries.
Growing
How
pain.
was that Chow?
I don't know.
No, where did you get that from?
I don't know.
Pikachu.
I don't know how to read, guys.
It's okay.
I do know how to read. That's not true. These lovely folks will make up our panel of judges, which includes Eric and myself. And then, Eric, speaking of judges, how do our Mattastic friends accumulate points in this Matt versus Matt extravaganza?
So here's how it'll work. Year by year, the Matts will give us their favorite film and try to convince us that their choice was the best choice. Then we'll give points based on that. For any years that they have the same film, they'll tell us why they picked the film and then give us the second choice, and we'll pick the number 2.
I like it. I dig it.
Yep.
Are you ready to leave it all on the mat?
I feel like the Matt who wins has to put like the best film critic podcast person, and the other person has to put something detrimental on their social media.
I like it. Yeah, we never really came up with a winner
in this.
Yeah, stakes, but maybe we'll figure that out
we can figure that
we
out.
go along. I do just have to say real quick, because at least people on my end, I wasn't looking at the Zoom camera, they were a little confused at our opening. I had to do something. It was a 2009 movie, so it didn't fall into best of the decade. But that little sound clip at the end of the music was from one of my favorite movies ever, and that's Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds, which is basically just making fun of film and film critics and
And, of course, killing Nazis.
yeah, that one specific scene with Mike Myers.
Yep.
I love that scene. No, for cinema, German cinema. So now that the fun scripted stuff is over, Matt, are you ready?
Yeah, I guess so.
Matt, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Let's get it on.
Jesus God.
Let's get it on.
Oh.
Eric, I guess we're going to
The
start.
best Mills Lane I've ever heard.
We're going to start with 2010. So let's take it away.
Mr. Moore, what's your 2010 pick?
2010, originally, for those that listened, my original pick for 2010 was Inception, which is a phenomenal film. However, for the sake of no crossover, because I'm difficult that way, as most of our listeners are familiar with, I changed it up. For 2010, my choice for the best picture of the year is True Grit.
Ooh.
Why?
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But why?
But why? Have you seen that movie?
Mm-hmm. But you have to convince us. Why is it the best film?
I have to convince you guys. Okay. It's even more so than the original John Wayne. It's a remake of the classic John Wayne film that most people, especially Western fans, are very familiar with. This one actually stuck a lot closer to the novel material than the John Wayne one, which sort of, dumbed it down a bit and made it more just actiony Western. This one was very, for lack of a better term, grittier.
I knew it. I was waiting for it.
But again, beautifully shot. Cast is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I can give a shout out to Matt Damon with a very, very minor role.
Matt Damon.
Who spends half the movie not being able to talk, probably because he bites most of his tongue off accidentally. So it's brilliant.
And it's also Haley Steinfeld's debut film, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, first film.
Big
Yeah,
role.
absolutely. Yeah, she led that one off in that film. And again, of course, Rooster Coburn can't say enough good about that. The cast in this movie just literally phenomenal. Like just a slew of great character actors.
Yeah.
I love the 2010 True Grit a lot. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, if you're calling him Mr. Moore, I'm going to call our Matt Mr. Reppert. What was your pick for 2010? And you can give us your original as well.
So mine is Inception. I stuck with it.
You stuck with it. Okay.
Oh, in the original. Oh yeah. Inception is a fantastic movie. It's a Chris Nolan film, obviously. So you already know going into it, it's going to be immaculately crafted. The whole idea of jumping deeper and deeper into somebody's mind was awesome. It was cool to see how they did it. You know, the idea of there's like mental defenses in every person's mind that you have to blend in. You have good performances by Leonardo DiCaprio, Ellen Page as well. You know, she's in there. And I mean, the effects of like, you know, for example, the whole city folding up and all that, like just awesome shit. Just Cillian Murphy is also pretty good in that because he's, you know, doing the whole thing with like his, you know, trying to figure out his relationship with his father. And you can't say enough about the final scene with the top spinning and everything like that. And like how the movie ends. And because the movie doesn't hold your hand, it's like, is he still stuck in his dream or is he back in the real world? You don't know.
Not to mention, we literally just recorded our other episode, our main episode of the show this week, talking about film scores, like an awesome, brilliant score from Hans Zimmer.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no, I'll give you that one for sure.
All right. So before we get into our judges giving their opinions on which one they should win, we should point out that each Matt has a soundbite, which will declare them their point if they get the point for winning the year. So. For Matt Moore's, I don't know why I chose this one. I think, Matt, you are a theater actor.
It's true. It is true.
And I am a theater kid as well. So I just thought this was a funny one. So if Matt Moore gets a point, this is his soundbite.
Don't hurt the face. I'm an actor.
And that is Trevor Slattery, Ben Kingsley from Iron Man 3. And this is from Matt Reppert's favorite movie ever.
She held together. I love this baby.
And that's Wing Commander.
Oh God. You picked like a decent movie for his, and you picked the worst fucking thing I've ever sat through.
That's
it's
love,
the benefit
my
of being
friend.
a guest, bro. We can't help it.
That's love.
At least you got to see the Phantom Menace trailer before it.
It had that bonus.
So Eric, I don't know. Do we want to have your end go first, or our end first, or take turns? How do we want to go?
Yeah,
about
let's do it. Let's do it over here. Come here, Steve. What are you picking? Inception versus True Grit.
I have to pick between the two movies.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know, man. Because like I really like True Grit too. I'd forgotten that movie had come out that year, and I really like how they. I'm not familiar with the novel, but I liked how like you said, Matt, the movie really was a lot grittier, and it really, I don't know, it was almost like, you know, after Unforgiven, westerns kind of ascended to like a different level, and True Grit was able to match that, you know, where it wasn't like as romantic anymore. You know, it really sort of took that, but then. You got Inception, and every movie uses that now, you know? Like,
is that a detriment to it, though? Right?
So, pardon?
Is that a detriment to that film, though?
No, it's not a detriment.
That's not Inception's fault.
It's kind of like, it's created a decade of right?
I don't know if I like that.
Fun fact, that is just the song slowed down.
Is it?
Yeah, like,
it's true.
Je ne regrette rien by Edith Piaf. It's just a song like, no, the end, like that. That's it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Facts.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You're welcome. French major here.
Well, I don't know. It's really hard to pick because they are such like groundbreaking movies. I don't know. I kind of probably have to say Inception, though. I'm sorry, Matt.
No, that was my original pick. I'm not even.
It was his original pick. That's true. That is true. So.
I guess just because in terms of impact, you know, for me, like that, I think that movie had a bigger impact overall, you know, for years to come, you know, even though I love True Grit.
Although it is funny, and I'll just throw this in now. Part of the reason I picked True Grit was because of another movie I have later on in the list that was done by the same directors.
Oh, cool.
I know what you're talking about. That's a good film.
The inspiration to do the other one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you'll have a second chance then.
I'll throw that out later on.
I'm picking Inception because I love that film.
That's fair.
All right. So you're choosing Inception, Eric?
Yeah.
All right, so far, it's
for the
2-0
boys.
Inception. Brittany.
Boy.
Anybody that knows me knows, hands down, it's Inception. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
All right, so my vote doesn't matter, so I'm not going to vote because I cannot pick between these two movies because I actually really
You may
love
have
both
to
of them
soon.
equally. I may have to soon, but I am in a very unique position that I don't have to right now. So I will say
He's one of those voters.
I am. You both win in my heart for this one. But Matt Reppert does take the first point.
She held together. I love this baby.
Go to hell, Freddie Prinze Jr.
See, I'm not even mad about losing this because the more times we hear that clip, I can just hear getting angry.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got to add a camera so we could see him getting angrier.
It's like whenever we talk about the new Star Wars movies around Steve, it's that kind of.
Let's not start that.
Yes.
I don't know if you can see Matt as well now.
Well, whoever. Well, yeah, whenever Matt wins, Matt loses. So
No matter what, one Matt will win. That's what matters.
Matt walks away a victor.
All right, let's. I like seeing you guys. So I'm just going to keep it on me because I love your beautiful faces.
You got to put us on a TV or something just so we're there.
Next time we're going to do that. I think we'll have to donate a TV for in this room for Wade at some point.
You mean
He's
like a
got like
TV
three
in the
in the
next
other room.
room?
He doesn't use.
We could have recorded it in there. We didn't really think this one through.
Yeah.
That's okay. Next time.
Next time.
Let's move on.
Just before we move on, I want to just throw out my honorable mentions for the year, just because why not?
Do it.
So for the rest of that year, also I had Black Swan, which was a great
movie.
That one was wild.
I love that.
That one gave me anxiety.
Oh yeah. Me personally, I was a big fan of this one. It was M. Night Shyamalan's produced The Devil.
I like
that movie.
I dug that movie. It was a guilty pleasure movie because it was just kind of neat to watch.
Yeah.
It was, and then of course, this is for all those 1980s kids that loved action films, The Expendables.
I saw that movie.
Never saw it.
Literally the 80s action fans' wet dream. Let's get every action star that's still around. And it started that franchise off, which just keeps adding more cameos every year.
Yep.
I couldn't not talk about that one.
Matt, do you want to give your honorable mentions?
I'll give my two others. So I had The King's Speech.
Great film.
As one of mine. Loved that film.
Yeah.
Saw it with my entire family. Saw it on Christmas Day. And a personal favorite of mine, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I love Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, Toronto.
Do you know?
Yes.
Do you know what most of us share in this room? And Matt, maybe not as much because of Picard, but we all love Alison Pill.
Yeah, I told you, I like the actress Alison Pill. I hated her character. God.
I know.
He's not a hottie for Girardi, but he finds Alison Pill is an easy pill to swallow.
He was,
He likes her performance.
Oh, wow.
He likes that performance.
Shut up, Wesley.
Goes down smooth.
she was the best part of that show, unfortunately.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Tron Legacy also came out that year. Tron
It did.
Legacy.
It did. Unfortunately, it also kind of killed that legacy, so I couldn't really mention it.
I had that on my list of films saved by their film score because Daft Punk.
Yeah, I have that on my
Tron
list too.
Legacy.
I love Tron Legacy.
All right.
That
Shall
film
we go
score.
to the next year? Because I have a feeling we're just going to
Yes.
get
We could
tied
talk
up.
about movies forever.
We're like six nerds in a room together.
Let's move on to 2011, and I think Matt Moore went first for 2010. So Matt Reppert, you can go first for 2011. What is your film?
So I stuck with Captain America, the first Avenger, because you have Chris Evans stepping into the role that pretty much made him a household name. There is not a single person who doesn't think of Captain America these days and not think of Chris Evans. I also did like Hugo Weaving as Red Skull, even though Hugo Weaving
Did not like being Red Skull.
He's too good for this shit. So
He is too good for it.
I mean, so Hugo Weaving, I did enjoy him in the role. It set up a lot of stuff that was going to come down in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with everything with Bucky, with Hydra, with all that stuff like that. I liked the way that you know, and it's part of the Captain America mythos, the whole establishing of like you need to be a good man first before you're essentially a god, if you will. Like
Yeah, it just heightens your like the serum heightens whatever you're already made of.
Yeah. So I liked Captain America for what it did. It might not win everybody's votes, but for me, I love the hell out of it.
Yeah. Again, I was right there with you. My original choice was Captain America. It's just a great movie. Chris Evans, it pulled his career out of teen rom-com misery and put him right in the forefront of everyone's brain.
And Johnny
Gotta
Flame.
love it for that. Yeah. See, I don't even try to forget those movies.
I don't know.
You bastard. Why would you bring that up?
He was pretty good in Scott Pilgrim.
All three of them. He was phenomenal in Scott Pilgrim. Absolutely. because he did that rail slide down the craziest set of steps in the GTA.
Wow.
Some competition you are.
Yeah. But for me, I had to mix it up again just because, again, Captain America is a great movie. There's another movie that goes kind of forgotten from that time period, which is really upsetting to me, and it was Disney's The Muppets.
Yeah.
For my best film of the year, because gosh darn it, Jason Segel took a franchise that was DOA and sitting on the shelf and was somehow able to make a movie that was almost more Henson than Henson.
I always remember
I like Jason Segel.
Yeah.
I don't remember this movie.
I remember the trailer when it's like
I saw it. It was actually
I think I've
pretty
seen
good.
it.
the trailer was like serious when it was like Amy
it
Adams
is-
like Kermit the Frog. What?
Yeah. It was like with no shame. And part of it's just because of, personal stuff, but it was I shamelessly wept in that movie at the end when they finally did the rainbow connection with everyone on
Dude,
stage. Lost
stop.
it.
I was just thinking about that.
Every
I started
single
getting
time.
chills. I love
Again,
that song.
it was one of those, I had not had an experience like that until Infinity War.
I'm pretty sure we saw this movie together, did we not?
We did.
Yeah, it was us and
I
a
saw
bunch of
that-
Muppet fans. So
I
we were
saw
just
that movie,
dying. It was
like
amazing.
6 times in theaters with various people because I just kept going to see it because I loved it so much.
Wow.
And again, it's one of those. I mean, it's obviously now it's overshadowed by other films that came out that year. But for me, always it was beautiful to have that one little moment of time where they were able to bring that franchise back. And then, of course, they made a sequel that was a little less than and kind of killed it off a bit. But it made everyone love the Muppets again.
All right. I guess we'll start on this side first this time for this year. Brittany,
Oh God.
your vote.
I honestly forgot about Muppets until you brought it up, and now my heart is filled with such joy. So I think I'm gonna have to go with Muppets because they already know I'm a big Henson person. I ran about Dark Crystal all the time.
All the time.
But yeah, you are correct in that I wasn't expecting that Muppets movie to be what it was, and then I was pleasantly surprised and was like, this is so wholesome. And as much as I love Captain America, Winter Soldier is my thing for Captain America. The first movie didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I liked parts of it, and I love that it made Chris Evans a person. A person.
It's true.
It made him a person. So I think I'm gonna have to go with Muppets because I literally totally forgot about it until you just told me.
As much as I 100% agree with Brittany, and Winter Soldier is my favorite of the Captain America movies, and I think still the best Marvel movie, if not one of my favorite movies of all time. I know I've seen the Muppet movie, but I just don't remember it, and I can't do it, even though I don't necessarily love Captain America that much. So I have to give it to what I know, and that is Captain America.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sort of unfortunately in the same boat. I never actually saw the Muppets movie, so sorry, I have to go with Captain America. But I'm definitely going to go watch it now.
Do it.
Sorry.
Everybody's gonna go home, watch it, and regret.
I know. I'm going to regret this.
You're going to watch it. I'm going to get a plethora of I told you so.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
So many songs
And-
about rainbows.
Stop it.
I don't think there's a surprise here. I'm going to go with Mr. Moore here for the Muppets because
Duel of Time.
Nice.
let's just
This
say
is
all the
stressful.
music was written by Brett McKenzie from Flight of the Conchords.
Concords.
And how could I not vote for that?
Yeah.
Plus, I use Man or Muppet for most of my auditions.
It's such a great song.
Oh my God.
Like the cameos in that movie alone, that was what made it such a great, almost more Henson than Henson, because they just got so many random celebrities to show. Mickey Rooney's in the movie for 10 seconds.
So's Feist for some
Feist
odd
is-
reason.
She was working with Sesame Street a
Yeah,
bunch
she did
leading up to
do
that,
that
so
Sesame Street, yeah.
that wasn't shocking. But Mickey Rooney, just one line gone, never see him again. I'm like, that's what the original Muppet movie was so notorious for that. Let's get random celebrities to show up for a cameo.
Not to mention Muppet Show. The original Muppet Show was
For real,
iconic
yeah.
for that.
Oh God, yeah.
So how do we handle?
Well, how do we handle this? We handle it with you
Now
both
we
get
have
a point.
tie.
Don't hurt the face. I'm an actor. She held together. I love this baby.
There's rivets in his goddamn spaceship.
Yep, ties do end up with each of you getting a point. So that does still give Matt Reppert the very slim but lead nonetheless 2-1 at the moment.
All right, now 2012, Mr. Moore. What is your pick?
2012 original. This one was really tricky for me because originally, personally, I had Django Unchained, and then when we were reviewing it, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to change it up because I had originally left Avengers off the list, and then I had been sort of thoroughly chastised by both parties involved in this for not including that in the list. Both when we recorded and then listening to the EIP recording, where I was like, "Man, I got to put Avengers on this list again." But then I thought, you know what? I'm going to stay true to who I am and mix it up even more, because Avengers is the obvious choice, and I loves me some Joss Whedon, and I love everything they did with that movie. But there was another movie that came out that year that, for me, really, really kind of flipped the script on a genre that is near and dear to my heart, and that movie is Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, good movie. Good choice.
Which, again, it's a lot of people forget that movie came out then. Sometimes they remember seeing it and they loved it, but they forget that it was, because again, it was that same year. It was within I believe a month of Avengers coming out, so it really kind of got forgotten. Aside from the fact that Chris Hemsworth is in it, which everyone forgets.
Yeah.
And has one of the most epic on-screen deaths I've ever seen in a long time.
It's so true.
Yeah, but at least.
But again, Cabin in the Woods, phenomenal. It bends the horror genre in a beautifully wonderful way. Has some phenomenal performances, phenomenal cameos in that movie. I always wanted to see a mermaid. But yeah, it's a great movie. If you're a horror fan, 100% you need to see this movie.
One day I'll watch it.
I'll have to loan it to you. I got it.
It's phenomenal. It is a pure Joss Whedon film.
Does it have Buffy elements?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. It has. There's a sequence near the end where they're basically in a room that's filled with these holding cells for different monsters. He makes a point of throwing in shout outs to Buffy villains in that, if you look very carefully.
There's also a sequence where they're in the basement and there's artifacts everywhere.
Yeah.
And there are Buffy artifacts there too.
Yeah.
Like the axe.
Yes. Like
oh my God.
He goes out of his way to be both self-referential and just horror referential in a beautiful way. Like there's like that sequence with the cubes, and early in the movie where they have a chart of all the different monsters. If you like pause it and read that, there is some hilarious entries on there. And there's like references to all sorts of fun stuff and some Buffy stuff as well too.
The cast is incredible too. Like just the secondary stuff, man.
Yeah. It takes the concept of what Scream did with slasher films and applies it to the Cabin in the Woods genre.
Oh, nice.
Way funnier.
So
yeah, that's for me. Avengers I love, will always be my love, because it was the first of the Marvel team up movies. But Cabin in the Woods deserves a special shout out as well.
No, I agree. Cabin in the Woods does deserve a shout out. But my pick for 2012 was Avengers, because in terms of what it did, that was a thing that a lot of people wondered, like, could you have all these characters together on screen and it works? And it's kind of funny that Joss Whedon did both movies. That we mentioned.
It is the Battle of Whedon.
The Battle of the Josses now, but but
he didn't direct Cabin in the Woods.
He just
produced. Oh, my bad. I apologize.
He was also one of the writers on it. He did help write the script.
Okay. All right. Yeah. But Avengers, like, there's so many epic moments from Avengers that still like grab, like the whole thing when they're all finally together and then it does the pan and they're all doing their little, I call it their Mortal Kombat poses when they're like,
sidebar real quick. Funko has been releasing giant sized, they're doing a release every couple of months of the panorama shot from Avengers.
Oh shit.
And I have Iron Man and Hulk so far, and I can't wait for the rest of them to come out. Sorry, continue.
No, but getting all of it to work. I mean, like all of the characters, like I never, like the only character I felt was a little underutilized was Hawkeye, but like I didn't care about him as much.
Or Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, I know. But like pretty much every other character got the screen time they needed. The whole story, it fit so well, and just the way everything worked. The soundtrack, I mean,
Alan Silvestri.
Yeah. I mean, like the Avengers score is probably going to be one of the most memorable scores that you're going to listen to, or at least, because I mean, like, and for pretty much every trailer involving the Avengers, they use that score at some point.
Yeah.
To, kind of touch back to this movie because of how great this movie was and what it did for the entire superhero genre. So, I mean, and pretty much almost all of the actors are like on their A game in this movie. Like there's not a single portrayal that I was like, I didn't really care for this or anything like that. Like Avengers kills it across the board. I love Cabin in the Woods, but I would still go Avengers even after all that. So
and I'm even going to throw in here, and this may be me sabotaging myself, but I will give you I'll give one extra point for Avengers because it was one of my originals. It also introduced Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner.
Yes.
That's fair.
Oh, that's true.
Which was that was part of the big everyone nervous because you had Ed Norton and it's like, oh, he left the product. Oh God, what's going to happen? We brought in Mark Ruffalo, and a lot of the response was who?
Yeah.
He'd been a great character actor up to that point, but he hadn't really had any breakout. So everyone's like, who's this guy? I don't know.
13 going on 30. Come on.
That's my secret.
Well, Shutter Island as well too. But again, it was.
But more 13 going on 30.
Right. But I'm going to give a counterpoint to your Avengers argument, which is I did love the movie. I really wish we could have seen what would have happened if they'd left the deleted wraparound story in. That's, if you watch the special features of the Blu-ray or the DVD, there's that whole subplot where Maria Hill is kind of justifying their actions to the council,
I love Maria.
By the underrated Powers Booth, which I was real mad they cut him out of the movie.
Yeah.
And, basically it was from all intents and purposes, looked like it was the Fury is out, Maria Hill's in, and she's now answerable. And they kind of just scrapped that storyline, even though they ended up kind of picking it up later anyways. So I just wish personally that they had kept that in, because clearly Joss had a plan for where he was going to go with that. And then the Russos came in and they kind of scrapped that idea, which is unfortunate, but would have loved to have seen where they were going with that storyline. Was
Powers Booth's character the same one from the TV show?
Yes. Yep. Same character.
Okay.
No, okay.
Yep. Ends up being Hydra. Spoilers.
Yeah.
How dare you?
But it was the kind of
It's a spoiler like a decade ago.
He's in charge of he's in charge of things. He was the secret Hydra, which they kind of did with Robert Redford later on.
Yep.
So he kind of left those seeds, and then they pulled it and then brought it back, but differently. So yeah, it was just a little bit of a juggle that I wasn't a big fan of, but that's just me.
Ooh. All right. Well, let's put it to the judges.
Are we doing ours?
Yeah, your
first?
guys are judges. Yep.
I had forgotten which one was first.
No, that's okay.
Steve, what do you pick?
I love me some Marvel, of course. But this was a really interesting choice, Matt. I'd forgotten that Cabin in the Woods had come out as well. And I have to say, in terms of like ingenuity, and this is the thing for those who haven't seen it, it is one of the most best kept secret movies ever, because everyone who's seen it will not tell you anything about it. And
I keep hearing that as well.
There's a certain quality about it that, I mean, until you actually see it, you won't really understand why, because it is just such an experience. So, this was a nice new pick, Matt. I'm going to say Cabin in the Woods.
All right. I'm going to actually agree with Steve here, because there's a lot of films that look at a genre and then sort of play on it, and then they do it in a hokey way. But this was sort of in a reverential way. So they love that genre and they played to its best points, with also being really funny. Plus, it's a film that I'll watch every year, and I don't think I can say that about the Avengers. Every year I've watched Cabin in the Woods around Halloween, obviously. Yeah. But it's been a film I've watched every year. So, Cabin in the Woods.
Brittany.
I love horror films, but I haven't seen Cabin in the Woods, so I can't give it my vote. But that's what sucks. Like I know of it, and I saw like trailers for it, but I never actually saw it, so I can't give it my vote. And the thing is, I personally wouldn't have picked Avengers for 2012, but I'm gonna have to go with it because it did kick off, everything for the MCU from that point onward. And I have seen it, so that's where we're gonna go with Avengers. Unfortunately,
it looks like we're going to end in another tie here, because I too have not seen Cabin in the Woods, and even if I had,
I'm going to loan it to both of you.
I could be dead wrong here, but I think you guys know me well enough now that I would probably choose the Avengers.
You would anyway,
no matter
so
what.
You should,
based on the shawarma scene alone.
Yeah.
But after we're all done, can we get shawarma? Is that a thing? Can we do it? So yeah, I'm going to vote for Avengers.
Another tie.
It does end in a tie again.
Dun, dun,
Don't
dun.
hurt the face. I'm an actor. She held together. I love this baby.
So
I'm going to have to watch Wing Commander after this. This is amazing.
That hurts.
And I want shawarma.
Hurts so bad.
Yeah, now I want shawarma, dude.
Matt Repper. I need shawarma now. Matt Repper still has the very slim 3-2 lead. And it is back to us over here. We are at the year 2013. And Matt Repper, Mr. Repper, your pick, please, sir.
So I went for 2013. I went with The Wolf of Wall Street. I a fantastic portrayal by Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, I know that this movie didn't win him an Oscar, but it probably should have. Him as Jordan Belfort, showing the excesses that he was going to go through in order to get what he wanted. The amount of basically this coke fueled extravaganza that he essentially did. And I mean, just Leonardo DiCaprio kills it in pretty much every scene he's in this movie. Also introduced us to Margot Robbie, her first major,
I love her.
Her first major film role, as his wife. And I remember reading that she had this whole thing where she did nudity for the movie, and her parents had no idea she did it. And so she's like, I'm sitting in the theater with my dad just going, oh my God, right as the scene comes on where she's totally nude. I mean, Jonah Hill also is very good in the movie. It's
you can't unsee that scene.
But yeah, Wolf of Wall Street. It's a favorite of mine. It's one of those movies where if I ever wanted to say to people how insane were, I mean, I was born in '82, so I don't remember the '80s that well, but what do you think the '80s were like? I would probably point them at
Watch Wolf of Wall Street and watch Leonardo DiCaprio.
This is pretty much what it is. So.
And probably get an 8-ball while you're at it.
No, you just need cocaine. Not 8-ball's heroin. You're a little.
8-ball could be coke too, right? I don't know drugs.
He's a cop. Trust him.
Folks. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Speedball. I don't even know.
Speedball's
Who
8
knows?
ball applied to cocaine as well too. It was the 80s. Everything was an 8-ball. It's fun.
everything was coke.
Yeah, the Coca-Cola Wars too.
Oh, that's true.
That was
New coke.
Oh God.
Get off my bridge.
I had to say something.
Oh man.
All right, Matt Moore.
Okay. Again, I had Wolf of Wall Street as my original pick. I also love this movie. It truly was. I'll second what you're saying. If you ever wanted something if you want to encapsulate the 80s, there are 2 movies, with the corporate greed 80s. There are 2 movies that I always like to recommend. Wolf of Wall Street, and then because I have a dark sensibility, if you want a twisted version of that, American Psycho.
Oh, nice. That's
Those really are the 2 mirrors of that particular society, where you get Wolf of Wall Street, which was this was actually real, and then you get American Psycho, which is that turned up to 12. But the similarities in how those people are is not that far different. Just one of them is a psychopath, and the other one is Christian Bale. But again, I had to mix it up, and part of this was because I got a little chastised by a podcast that will remain Everything is Permitted. So my addended choice for the best picture this year was 12 Years a Slave.
Nothing. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that movie. So
I've seen
it,
and I just said yes. I literally had to take a moment because that movie.
Yeah,
I had it on my list. I was like, how do you not remember this film? Lupita.
Lupita Nyong'o.
That's all I gotta say. Oh my God.
It's a brilliant movie. It is a very hard movie to watch.
Extremely. I haven't watched it again.
Especially knowing that it happened. This is based off a true story. This happened. It's very hard to watch, but it is truly a beautiful movie to watch. Very much the diametric opposite of Wolf of Wall Street, where as much as there's some bad things happen, there's a lot of silliness and frivolity. There is virtually no silliness or frivolity in 12 Years a Slave.
There's none, even in happy moments.
Yeah. Ugh. But it is very much a beautiful film. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it wholeheartedly. Wolf, like I said, Wolf will always be a great movie that I can just put on and just sort of shut my brain off and watch. 12 Years a Slave, I own it. Like I said, I saw it in theaters. I bought it when it came out. I have not watched it since I opened it when I bought it, because it's a very hard movie to get through, and definitely a bit of a downer. But it does ultimately have a happy ending. It's just that you go through a lot with these characters before you get to that happy ending. So that's my pick. So there you go.
Brittany, I feel like I already know your vote after that very strong endorsement for 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, it's the movie that's made me love Lupita Nyong'o. So 12 Years a Slave, you got it. It's hard to watch again, but man, you only need to watch it once to know.
Yeah.
It's a film that I've been meaning to see. I haven't, and I can't give a vote to a film I haven't seen. And I have seen Wolf of Wall Street and also agree that it's fantastic. So it's a quick, easy vote for me. Wolf of Wall Street for me.
All right, Steve.
Yeah, Matt, I was sort of questioning why you would at the last minute sabotage yourself by like switching to all these other movies. But on this one, no, it was crickets for me when you said 12 Years a Slave, because the impact of the movie just sort of washed over me, and I didn't know what to say, and that's really the impact of the movie for me. Like I think that this was a good. I'd forgotten that movie had come out that year. So yeah, no, I'm gonna go with 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, it's good when you go silent for a few seconds and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. It wasn't because we didn't like the choice. It's because the movie like came back to us.
Yeah, flashed back to your eyes.
We're speechless.
Oh god!
Yeah.
And then there's scenes that just will live with you forever. Yep. Michael Fassbender, good lord.
Yep.
Don't.
So I'm going
please
with.
don't bring it up. Oh god. I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm just like sweating.
Oh god. So I'm also going to go with 12 Years a Slave. I haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street, so I will see it one day.
One time it actually went in Matt's favor.
So Matt
Moore's favor.
All right.
Don't hurt the face. I'm an actor.
Matt Moore gets the point, and it is tied up at 3-3.
3-all.
Oh,
so now we're headed into 2014. Mr. Moore, what did you pick?
I've talked about this movie at great length. I talked about it at great length when we did our episode.
Yeah.
My pick for 2014 was and always will be John Wick. I can't not talk about that movie. I love it. The place that I'm working at, because we have TVs around where I was working. So especially late at night, the John Wick series would always end up getting put on by some of my favorite bartenders. I'd go up, grab a drink, and be like, "Oh yeah, it's John Wick 2." Like, how do you know? I'm like, I know. I literally just. I could walk into 10 seconds. I know exactly where it is in the series, watching the scene. I'm like, it's that movie. And it's a great movie. It's such a good time watching it. It is such a pure action film, but it actually has really solid performances, like acting wise, which is, again, sometimes you don't always get that in action films where you'll have great action sequences and questionable acting. This one has great acting and great action sequences. You can't lose out watching these movies. And the more you watch them, the more you want to watch them. Like, you watch John Wick 2, you want a third one. I watched John Wick 3 recently. And I'm like, I want more. They're great movies. They're fun. The more you learn about that universe, the more you want to know about that. It'll always be my pick.
John Wick 4, Matrix 4 coming soon.
I know.
Next year's going to be crazy.
Oh, Lord. 2 years worth of movies in one.
Yeah.
So my pick.
Renaissance continues. Sorry.
so my pick for 2014 is probably, I think it's Julian's favorite Marvel movie, is Captain America Winter Soldier. If you talk about a movie that raised the stakes in
this
terms
one's going to be
of,
stressful, guys.
in terms of the whole of the Marvel universe, like the elevator fight scene is still one of the most amazingly choreographed fight scenes in any movie in like the last 10 to 20 years. Like the whole thing, like, anybody want to get off? And then and then everything that comes after that, like the next several minutes of after that, like that alone, like made this movie like amazing. But just the plot, the whole thing of Hydra has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and the ramifications it had for the entire universe, the whole thing. I mean, with Bucky coming back and the emotional like tug of war that Cap has with that is, I mean, it's Winter Soldier is, I would easily put it in the top 3 Marvel movies, and it's just a fantastic, even taking it outside of the Marvel universe, it would have been a fantastic movie on its own.
And that's what makes it so good, is that sure, it has Captain America in the movie title, but you literally could have called this movie The Winter Soldier, and people would have gone to see it as this just amazing spy thriller that it is. I love the play between Black Widow and Cap, especially in this. Like, you're not quite sure if you should trust Nat in this movie, and I really like that. And so you eventually are able to, but like, it's cool. You just don't. It's one of those great, like, who's the bad guy? Who do you trust? Who don't you trust? Obviously setting up Marvel. I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Hydra, and then going into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. It is my favorite Marvel movie. It is quite possibly in maybe my favorite movie, or in the top 5 at least. So,
I do like Winter Soldier.
Everybody's saying.
I do enjoy this movie. However, this is one of the ones where it started to enter into, when I was picking movies, I had to look at the cinematic world overall, which is, I love Winter Soldier. If you have not seen the first Avenger, however, a lot of what happens in that movie doesn't have the same significance.
Like his relationship with Bucky.
but it's technically a sequel,
Bucky,
so.
But that's now that's just for me. I always find it difficult with sequels if you haven't seen it. Like if a movie can stand alone by itself, absolutely. I don't know if Winter Soldier is able to stand alone without a broader knowledge of what had happened before it. Like the whole bit with Arnim Zola. If you don't know who he is, if you don't care, like it doesn't mean anything to you.
Well, yeah, but once again, if you walked into say John Wick 2, you'd be like, "What the hell is going on? Who is this?"
We are talking about John Wick 1.
I know, but I'm saying you're trying to say like a sequel isn't as established as a first.
As far as Zola goes, I mean, you could just see him as just evil computer Nazi.
Evil Nazi man.
Yeah. No, I know. But again, I
am Swiss.
Yeah, and again, it wasn't. Like I said, I love the movie, but again, there's a lot of stuff. Like even the relationship with Bucky. If you haven't seen where that started, it doesn't have the same significance.
I feel like the movie could have, if you had, as Julian said, if you took it out of the MCU, you could have rewritten this movie to the point where like, oh, we were war buddies together, we were in Iraq or something like that, and blah blah blah, and it would have still fit. You didn't need to be like we were in World War II because everybody would be like, what?
Yeah.
But that's the key is you had to rewrite it for that to happen.
Well, that's just minor. Yeah, that's minor like plot alteration.
Ooh, this is good. It's getting
testy. But now that we're tied, I'm going to start nitpicking shit. That's what I like.
All right, I think voting's on your side.
Can we point out that if we would have kept it without changing, you guys would have just had the first 4 films like the same.
I was prepared to go to my second.
We could have tied all 4 to begin with.
That's true. Yeah, but no. I do love Winter Soldier. I'm not belittling it. I just had to nitpick it because that was one of the ones I loved. But there were aspects of it where if you hadn't seen the first Captain America, you would have been a little bit lost. Not much, but just a little bit.
Well, you could also nitpick John Wick because you're telling me the son of this mob boss has no idea who the hell Baba Yaga is or anything. like he's just like,
well, he is a dumbass. So.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a dumbass. But you think he being involved in his dad's business, his dad would have been like, "Hey, this guy, don't fuck with him ever. Like, don't piss him off."
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
because he literally has no idea. He has never even heard of John Wick when he basically like breaks into his house. So
yeah, and he wants to be a would-be gangster. So
yeah. Oh yeah, right. But that's just I had to throw that out there for my own peace of mind. But again,
you're fine.
Not belittling it. Just had to interject that bit.
All right, I guess we're starting on our side. I'm going to go with you, Steve, because I have to think about this.
Oh, man, so I got to be the first one to pick? Nice.
Sorry, Steve.
All right, well, what I've been thinking, I think you guys both make good points. I mean, I don't totally agree with what you're saying, Matt. I do think Winter Soldier for me is significant in that they started to sort of, I think, experiment with a little bit. Like after they established that they could do these like, introduction movies and then Avengers, and actually bring them together. Winter Soldier, I think, had a very different tone, obviously, because it was sort of the first where it's like, there's like a serious problem here, and it's not like just a superhero problem, like there's a split, and it runs really deep, and so it wasn't just simply punch the supervillain in the face, right? Now we have a real issue, and the fact that all those characters were able to rise to that occasion, I thought was quite powerful. But then you bring up John Wick, and like the thing with John Wick is like this is a movie made by stunt people, like this is a work of love by stuntmen, and then you got Keanu Reeves, who hasn't aged, this immortal vampire, right? and he just carries like this, like he's so perfect for it, right? Because he's they keep asking him, they keep asking me if I'm back, right? And he doesn't lose it until like right at the perfect moment, and he just sustains. So I don't know. I'm starting to. God, man, it's so hard to pick between the two. But I don't know. Actually, I think I have to go with more on this one. I think in terms of impact on cinema, like I love Winter Soldier and I love what it did to the Marvel universe. It definitely pushed the stakes up and it elevated the MCU. Absolutely. But in terms of overall like movies, I do think John Wick is a really significant action movie. I actually don't like the sequels as much, but I think the very first movie was really cool because it had that intrigue of there being a world to explore. I want to see more of them, but I kind of like just the amount that they teased in the first film. But in any case, I'm going to go with John Wick.
Oh, goddamn, you made that harder for me, Steve.
I know. That's why I didn't want to go
first. Because Winter Soldier is my favorite Marvel movie.
Oh, it's amazing. Oh, no, it's definitely one of the top top Marvel movies. Absolutely. Hands down.
Oh, man, John Wick. And I love me some John Wick. I love me some Winter Soldier. Oh, man. But I really love me some Keanu Reeves, which is why, Matt Moore, you're like tugging at my heartstrings here. Oh, and I have such a respect for stuntmen because I have a bunch of friends that are stunt people. So
I'm gonna low key help sway you right now, and everyone else hasn't decided. I have 3 words for you: with a pencil.
That didn't happen in this movie, though.
No,
I wanted to be a stunt actor for the longest time.
They only talk about it. It only happens in John Wick 2.
I'm with a pencil.
But you see, I would argue that's the thing. I'm not as keen on the sequels. I like that they had that lore and they didn't have to show all of it.
Yeah.
But I love the lore. Like, it was one of the movies where I'm like, I want to know more about everything. Yeah. And every time they announce something and they're like, we're going to expand the universe, we're going to have a TV series, I'm like, shit, yes. Give me more. Give me more, John.
With this one, it was just the fact that they, like, the way they told that story, where he's like, you have this badass gangster, and he's like, kill these men with a fucking pencil. And you're just like, oh God. Like, cause you could picture him doing that. You're like, oh, that's terrifying.
And I mean, we've seen Joker
society.
do it.
Yeah. Except John Wick rolls through everybody until he gets to the old Russian mob boss who he gets into a fist fight with and has to take several minutes to beat him.
So Eric,
man, as much as I love the elevator scene, I'm going with John Wick. God damn it.
No.
All right.
That's how he gets you.
Brittany.
I'm going to have to go with Captain America Winter Soldier just because, like, I love this movie and I think it's the best characterization for the characters that are in it in any of the Marvel films. Like, this is the one that really drove home who Captain America is, who Bucky is, actually did Black Widow really well.
Damn well.
And then, like, immediately afterwards, they destroyed all of them in, like, Age of Ultron and shit, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like, this is the one that after I saw it, I was like, thank you. This makes sense. This is Hydra. This is S.H.I.E.L.D. This is what we're standing for. This is how Captain America deals with the world, how it is now. It is not like the 1940s. This is the government taking too much control, and he realizes it. This is, you know, militarization that shouldn't be happening. This is the shit that, like,
it's very topical.
Warned us about. Exactly.
It's topical, so, like the idea of neo-Nazis infiltrating the government and stuff like that.
And it was like thematically important
very
for the time period
now.
it came out in. Yeah.
Julian, you got the
so it's going to be a tie, but I do want to say, like, I don't want to make this sound like this is like a super easy decision, even though it pretty much is.
It's not.
Oh, it really isn't.
I love John Wick. I think it's a great film. I love the fact that it's all over a pit bull because I am a pit bull owner. And no, it's not a pit bull at the beagle. It's a beagle.
It's a puppy.
It's a beagle puppy, and I have a beagle.
That's what
too.
makes it worse.
And he gets a pit bull.
He's so little.
And I love that his revenge is based off someone killing his dog, and it's just brilliant. And it has one of my other favorite actors who is the voice of Zavala in Destiny and also in Fringe. But
I can't think of his name.
I can't either. But
Lance
Henriksen.
Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
Sorry. Henriksen is the older white guy.
But listen, everything, I don't need to repeat everything Brittany just said because she took the words right out of my mouth. But I also give...
I do that oft.
Yes. Everything she just said. Plus, we talked about it again. I'm going to reference back to the episode we just recorded because it's fresh on my mind. Henry Jackman's freaking amazing score for this film. Really helped makes it. It is one of my favorite films, if not my favorite film. So yes, Winter Soldier, and again, we 4-4.
Don't hurt the face. I'm an actor. She held together. I love this baby.
And
that was a tough round.
It was a really tough round. I like it.
It would be easier if, like, even one of our Mats was just, like, bad at picking movies, but, like, you're both good, and they're always good movies. I think
Matt is the better arguer between us. He's the other Matt is the
I
better
I will give him that. But Matt,
he likes talking.
You have good comebacks. Like, that wasn't in that movie. Like, you know your shit. So I mean, you both know your shit.
Yeah.
But
all
right, we are into
so it's making this so fun.
2015, and Matt, your Mr. Repper.
So this movie took a character who hadn't been in movies forever, but Mad Max Fury Road. Truly like a masterfully made movie. I mean, the fact, like, just reading the stuff that went on behind the scenes, because some people I know who are kind of more involved in Hollywood had said that, like, when they do like chase scenes, they actually speed up the film to make it seem like they're going faster than they really are. But in this movie, they actually were doing all that shit. Like
it's all real.
Yeah, like there was no there was very little CG used for like the actual crashes and obviously people flying off and getting
the
killed.
dude playing the guitar alone.
Oh my god, man.
Yeah.
That's a 20th level bard right there.
Yeah,
Make me shiny and chrome.
I live, I die, I live again.
But the whole thing, I mean, at first I remember I was a little like about the movie because I was like, Tom Hardy didn't really talk, but then the more I kind of thought about it, like the dude's basically a wild animal.
It wasn't about him.
I know. And that's and at first, but then I was like, yeah, it's not his story. And then I kind of researched the older Mad Max movies and was like, that's how it's always been.
Yeah.
Like Max is just a dude who wanders the wastelands and gets caught up in other people's stories. And it's just kind of the camera, if you will, follows him, but it's not his story. And this movie totally fit within the Mad Max universe. Like obviously Charlize Theron as Furiosa, it was amazing, awesome, powerful. Like she kicked ass in all the right ways. I never questioned anything about her character because, you know, sometimes once in a while you'll see a female character do stuff and you're kind of like, that doesn't seem real to me. But
like when they fight in heels. Yeah. We all hate it. We don't want to.
Hang on, let me take my heels off first.
Hold up. Matt froze.
Yeah, I'm back.
I'm
back.
But yeah,
my connection's getting a little touchy, so just in case I die again.
Okay. But yes, Mad Max Fury Road was my pick for 2015. It's a incredible movie. I cannot recommend it enough for people. So,
all right, Matt Moore.
And again, my choice for 2015 was originally Mad Max Fury Road. It will always be one of my favorites. There's another. I threw in a dark horse change up for this one. And it's only because I had not actually seen it when I made the list. As much as I absolutely love Mad Max Fury Road, especially because they've started pre-production on the Furiosa movie officially, although it's in pre because they can't film anything. And I love that it's keeping that alive. My choice for 2015 is the movie Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Holmes.
Great.
I feel like I've heard of it.
It's Ian McKellen, 93-year-old Sherlock Holmes, who is in basically at the end of his life. He's suffering from the loss of his mental faculties. And it's basically him trying to remember the last case that he actually had. He knows that he didn't like the outcome and that he didn't like how Watson wrote it, but he can't remember why. So it's the relationship of him and the son of his, basically his nurse, forming a relationship, and then through that, him remembering what happened in his last case. It is an absolute tour de force of Ian McKellen, hands down. It is a beautiful movie. It is a movie that will make you
It's
cry.
so sad.
It's so sad, but it's so beautifully sad.
Yeah.
And again, I put this in as a dark horse because I hadn't seen it when I made my list. It was on my list. I'm like, I should watch this eventually. And then I watched it and I was just like, this is a phenomenal movie. And this is, again, one of those that I guarantee most people haven't seen.
I have seen it. It took me a minute to remember, but I did. I saw it with Karen. I think we watched it on demand one night a while ago. It is fantastic, and it is a tearjerker, and Ian McKellen is so damn good in it. He is so good.
I don't want to see it because it'll make me think of Ian McKellen dying, and that's not a world that's not a world I want to live in, damn it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I mean, I think at this point he is virtually immortal because he's looked exactly the same age for the last 20
Him and Patrick
Did you
Stewart,
see him in
right?
Cats?
Did you see him in Cats? That is the bar.
I'm just saying.
No, you know what? As much as I hate that movie, he hit my
sold it?
heartstrings with his stuff.
Yeah.
Only because I have worked with actors that are of that age, and he knows his craft enough to be like, that's the kind of stuff that you see these older British actors doing.
Like licking milk directly out of a bowl in a cabinet on purpose.
It was not milk; it was water out of the top of a
there
drum.
You go.
I just hope when Ian dies, he comes back as Ian the White or something like that.
I hope he comes back as a Jellicle cat.
Oh yeah,
Ian the White.
Brittany, your vote for 2015.
Okay. I haven't seen the other film, so I've only seen Mad Max Fury Road. I love Ian McKellen, so hopefully I will see that one now. I'm just going to make a list of like movies I have to watch. But Mad Max Fury Road, like that is one of my top films of all time. That movie, like the soundtrack, I drove home from that movie playing the soundtrack with the windows down in my car, just screaming out the window with my cousin. Like we were like, I live, I die, I live again, like freaking out.
I picture
Make me shiny and
I
chrome.
picture Brittany being like shiny and chrome.
Like
It's
you
like
can listen to that soundtrack while like doing the dishes, and like you're immediately amped up. I played a barbarian in one of my D&D campaigns, and my I would like to rage music was this soundtrack. I love it because it's not only like feminist, but it's just like awesome action. I have so much respect for stunt actors, and that movie really put to the forefront how important they are, and the fact that they're like, why don't they get awards? This is ridiculous. The two main stunt actors fell in love while filming this. Ugh, I love it. Anyway, that's my vote. Fun fact. I'm full of fun facts. That's like all I do. Puns and fun facts.
It's true. Matt, you got me tough on this, man, because goddamn, do I love Fury Road. But even though it took me a minute to remember, it is all coming back to me now with Mr. Holmes, and I'm actually getting a little emotional thinking about that movie. It is such a hard hitting film. It is so good. His relationship with that boy in that film, I can't remember. It is so good. It's really hard. Oh man, I'm like Eric with Winter Soldier and John Wick right now.
Don't worry, I'm thinking the same thing for these two movies. Damn it.
I can't make it easy for you guys. Take the fun out of it.
I feel like I have to give it to what's giving me like a reaction right now, and that is not Fury Road. It is Mr. Holmes. So I am going with what is getting me like emotional now, and I'm giving it to Mr. Holmes.
See, he's not being Furiosa. He's being, I don't even know. He's already shaming me, so I'm not even going to continue.
Disappointed!
I love it. Shame me all you want.
All right, Steve, your choice.
Man, Matt, I mean, you're messing things up. I haven't seen Mr. Holmes, so I can't. I can't vote for it. But I mean, the way you guys been talking about it, like, I gotta write this one down. Like, that's gonna be the.
It's on Canadian Netflix.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Nice.
Like, it may not be your top pick of the year, but it's definitely that people should.
No, I need to see
else.
it. I completely forgot that movie existed and I never saw it. So, and I mean, I guess just to be consistent with what I've been picking so far, I mean, Fury Road is just I always thought it was a groundbreaking movie, and I always felt, like it would be one of the next, like the next Terminator 2 in terms of its like importance to action movies. And I don't know whether that's actually happened or not, but nevertheless, at the time when I watched it, and when I think on it now, it is just such an amazing. Like for him to have worked on it for all those years, probably tweaking it, in the back of his mind, and it just really is like a really well realized setting and world, and the performances are it's just so crazy, so it's a witness me. So I have to vote for Fury Road.
Oh man,
Imperator.
Mediocre.
I will give a shout out in Mr. Holmes to Laura Linney, who plays his housekeeper, because she was wonderful as well. But I am gonna go with Mad Max just because that was my favorite film of that year. As much as Mr. Holmes is great, you should also check out the book it's based on, A Slight Trick of the Mind.
So this is Mad Max Beyond Thunder Holmes.
The puns are strong.
Dude, guys, I love Mad Max, so you don't want to know.
It is the film I picked, yeah.
So I am going to give the point in a second, but that was tough.
I win the points this round.
That was really tough.
Yeah, Britt wins that one.
Brittany gets all the sound bites.
So point goes to...
She held together. I love this baby.
Fucking damn it.
A slim but lead nonetheless, 5-4.
I'll probably lose it this next round because I kind of want to change my top movie for this next year, but I don't want to do that for recording.
All right, 2016, Mr. Moore.
You know what? This was again one when I brought it up. A lot of people forgot that it came out this year it came out in 2016. It was M. Night Shyamalan's Split. The sort of backdoor sequel to Unbreakable, and what led up to the potentially great Glass that sort of fell short of its potential. But we don't talk about that movie. We're talking about Split. This movie is impressive. Again, the first time that Shyamalan actually had created a sort of Shyamalan verse, if you will.
The Shyamalan verse?
It was like a planned trilogy that he wanted to do for a long time.
Oh, yeah. What a twist.
What a twist.
But yeah, no, it just tour de force performances across the board. Brilliant movie to watch. I covered a lot of this when I made it my pick when I did our episode, so I'm not going to rehash it. But it definitely brought Shyamalan kind of back to the forefront of people going like, oh man, this guy can make great movies. This is awesome. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm really going to say about it. Because again, it then gets followed by the movie that came after it, which I was not as happy with. But this was, I mean, McAvoy, what can I say?
I mean, I have a love for Shyamalan, and like, he films a lot out of like PA and Philly. So like, I have a love for him for many reasons, but there are some of his films that are like very hit or miss.
The happening. Yeah, to call it the crappening.
I was talking about the one that will not be named because I already talked about it before.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I'll take any of his films over that one.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that was my pick. It was a little dark horse entry when I did it. But 100% I split for me.
Mr. Reppert.
As I said, I almost wish I had changed my top pick for this year because the more I've been thinking about it, the more I would
then do
change
it.
But
Do it.
All right. So my original top pick was Captain America: Civil War, but the more I've been thinking about it for a while, and I got to go with Rogue One.
Yes,
because Rogue One was good too.
The soundtrack, like, first of all, Rogue One, like yeah, some of the characters were a little more underutilized than others, but like the whole idea of the suicide mission, of dying for a cause and all that stuff like that. Also, it's a Star Wars movie that didn't have a lot of the magical space wizard crap in it. Like, and don't get me wrong, I love the Jedi. I love all that.
Yeah.
But like, it did the Force, but it did it in a real way where somebody could actually like believe it. You know, like Donnie Yen, like, I am one with the Force and the Force is with me. Like, that would almost be a prayer. That would be a prayer you would actually expect someone in this universe to be saying the whole time. And it drives home that whole thing of like, how are these dudes always missing these people when they're shooting at them?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that whole little line with Donnie Yen, and Donnie Yen is a phenomenal actor who...
Are you kidding me? I'm blind.
Shameless plug, your martial arts march.
Yes, my martial arts march, watching Ip Man, made me appreciate Donnie Yen even more. But also, like, I would say that this movie helped set up things like The Mandalorian, because I think it kind of gave people a taste of that whole, like, hey, what if we did Star Wars, but there were no Jedi involved? Yeah. And people started to think that would be something I would love to see. And Rogue One, to me, set that up. I love Civil War. As I said, it was my original pick, but I got it. The more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, you know what? Rogue One was the better movie. The soundtrack, especially when
Michael Giacchino.
Yeah, especially right when they're getting ready to fire the Death Star, and like the chorus building and everything, when Tarkin's just like, you may fire when ready, and that whole thing that's building in the background, awesome moment. And
I love that movie.
And also, like, and it did give you a little bit of the lightsaber stuff with Darth Vader at the end, which was like one of the most holy shit moments.
That's how you need to feel when you see Darth Vader.
Yeah,
I forgot that.
Yeah, that was the thing where people were like, damn, this dude really is dangerous. He doesn't just pine after Luke the entire time.
Yeah, I'm so conflicted about that sequence, because I loved that sequence, but the ending of that sequence screwed up the continuity of the films for me in a way that I've
it just made Leia seem like that much more of a badass, where she's like, who, me? I couldn't have any plans, possibly. I'm on a mission. She's just
I
more
couldn't
funny.
possibly have plans that you literally just watched us steal and chased us for 5 minutes for.
Hey, that girl watches her whole planet explode. I think it gives it a little more weight. She's like, I'm lying for Alderaan.
I love
Alderaan reasons.
I love the fact from the Robot Chicken where he's like, I'm so sad Ben's gone. Oh, are you upset about an old man dying? I just watched my entire planet get vaporized about 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite part is like her fake accent up until like the Alderaan explodes, then she has her American accent.
No more faking it.
Yeah, but I will, again, with Rogue One, I will say the fact that they were able to give a supporting actor credit to Peter Cushing, who had been dead for 15 years by that point, was phenomenal to watch.
Agreed.
And they have that little Carrie Fisher cameo, rest in peace, because she had passed right before that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was beautiful to see. But yeah, it was cool to see that they used the technology for good as opposed to evil.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's our side to go first. All right, Steve, I know what you're picking.
I know. I mean, Eric's here grinning because literally like 4 days ago, I was bitching about Rogue One. I'm the only person on the entire planet who thinks the movie's highly overrated, but I'm just going to say
not
like
the only person.
No, well, I don't know. I seem to be the only one who complains about it. I just didn't think it quite lived up to what it was trying to do. And I thought the fan service was really heavy handed. But I do think anyone who likes Star Wars has to watch it. I absolutely would say, yes, if you like Star Wars, if you like the universe, it's probably one of the only new movies I would say you should watch. Absolutely. And it's a good movie, but I think it's like, a 6 or 7, at best, but that's just me. So anyway, that's why Eric was laughing, because I literally was like, just
on
totally
Wednesday, you were talking about
losing my crap about it like 4 days ago. But anyway, that withstanding, Split, McAvoy, has done a lot of great stuff, but that movie, I really believed like those personalities. I really believed like the things that he did. And then also to have, all the additional performances. I mean, I don't really care that it was part of a weird trilogy that didn't really pan out. The movie in and of itself is just extremely strong. And I always, in terms of like, is it a horror? I don't even know that, like, it's like a type of film that does what it's trying to do extremely well. And I don't know that they'd be able to do another film quite like that. So
for me, the last time I saw a movie that handled that kind of material as well was when Lithgow did Raising Cain. Back in the 80s.
I haven't seen that. Okay.
If you like seeing actors working against type, John Lithgow in that movie is terrifyingly phenomenal.
Well, Lithgow he's really talented at being super creepy when he needs to.
Yeah.
So anyway, so obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I also really like Split. So so my vote goes with Split.
Yeah, and no surprise here, being a big Star Wars fan. Thank you for not picking Civil War, because I was going to go for Split over that. But I'm going with Rogue One. Sorry, Matt. More.
Betrayal is real.
I do love me some Star Wars. I think that is the only film you can watch in the last 10 years from Star Wars, unfortunately. Everything else has really disappointed me. But I love it. I think the characters are great. I know Steve has some issues with a couple of the secondary characters, and I have those same issues, but still, Rogue One is my film for that.
Okay, this one's a tough one for me. Because I loved Unbreakable, loved Split. I think it's the reason, like, James McAvoy, I don't know how he deserves awards for that performance. Like, it's insane. Yeah. Like, other actors have tried to do so and have not achieved that sort of range in characters all in one film. They're extremely believable. Like, you're watching him, but at the same time, you're like, oh, well, this is, this character or that character. Like Patricia. It's like
he changes his stance.
He changes.
Slightly, and it's a different character.
Yeah,
instantly.
He changes everything about himself. Like, it's not just like doing hokey voices. He does carry himself differently as each person in an extremely believable way. And but like Rogue One that year, that was my film of the year. I remember that I think I was graduating college that year. I'm aging myself to you guys. I'm very young. But when it came out, it was very important when this movie came out. We live in the U.S. A certain election happened that year. This was a very anti-war film. The key line was rebellions are built on hope. There were people that were ready to just like give up on everything. And like, I just remember this movie hitting a specific way because of that. Like, I was one of those people that was like, like, I'm gay. And to have someone elected that way, I was just like, this is rough. This is directly affecting my life in certain ways. And to like, I love Star Wars, and to have a movie that had a certain message where it's like, it's okay, we're going to keep fighting the good fight, regardless of if that film was depressing.
Yeah.
They got wiped out, but the rebellion continued on the backs of those that, unfortunately had to die and carry on. So I don't know, that movie just like hit different that year. I'm sure if I would have watched it at like a later time, or maybe if it came out a few years earlier, it would have felt differently. But Rogue One, I was like, wow, I put that up there with like top anti-war films of all time. Like, to me, it's not just a Star Wars story, even though, look at me plugging in. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It's like a very like humanist sort of story. So, and you can cut that out if you have to or whatever. I don't know if you want to keep in.
We'll keep that.
Because like, I try not to be like
keep
political and stuff, but like just coming from a gay woman, like that movie was like, holy shit, this is like the struggle we're going through right now. This is the don't lose your hope. Rebellions are built on hope.
It's also the only Star Wars film that is multicultural. Like,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
majority of
I
the
agree.
cast is
Very
not
much
white,
so.
which is
That's
just
also what I
amazing.
liked
It's-
about it.
Yeah.
I was like, look at this diversity. You all die, but like at least it was diverse while we had it.
But it shows that it actually existed in that universe. Not everyone was like an old British man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I will say thank God, because I remember from the trailer, thank God they cut that line though. This is rebellion, isn't it? I rebel.
Yeah.
That line made me cringe every time I saw it in the trailers, but thank God they removed it.
And I mean, it is getting its own kind of sort of spin-off.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm
Julian.
interested to see them follow that storyline of that time frame before Rogue One, just with all that, because I think that's where we're going to see the potential of seeing a more multicultural performance.
Cassian
Because,
Andor,
like I said,
K2SO love story.
Yeah, yeah.
I loved
And
it.
also the fact that
Yeah.
they're giving him work, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it crosses over with Rebels, which is the best Star Wars,
Yeah.
the past
I
little
love
bit,
that.
yeah, I'm
Shameless
fine with
plug.
that.
Hey, Rebels is crossing over with the Mandalorian officially.
Yeah,
once they
so-
get back into production.
We doing it all.
We doing it all.
No, it's done production, Matt.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
They already filmed her.
Yeah, they're not showing anything from her.
No, that's fine. I was more worried about the fact they hadn't, they cast her, but they weren't filming it. And I was like, damn it, don't tease us with that.
So
Julian.
I have a respect for M. Night Shyamalan as a person. I like maybe 2 of his films. I don't love him as much as Brittany. And I made.
Did I say I love
you
him?
Did. you pretty much did.
I said it's a hit or a miss sometimes. Like when he does well, I like him. When he doesn't, I hate him.
Let me just put it this way. Even though I did see Devil, it was kind of not my choice, so I don't count it as me like actively going to see it. I refuse to see another M. Night Shyamalan movie after The Happening because that movie just broke my soul.
Julian just asked what's happening the whole time.
I did. It broke my soul in so many different ways, and I can't. Having said that, M. Night Shyamalan is very well respected in our community here. He's a good dude. I got lots of respect for him as a filmmaker, mostly. Having said that, Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie, period. End of story.
Same.
It is. It's funny you're saying it's anti-war, right? Because it is anti-war, but it is also a very like cookie cutter World War II movie.
No, that's the
the way
point.
in which it's filmed. Yeah.
Yeah, like where Eagles
It's about
Dare.
war, but it's
Yeah.
about why war is not okay.
And I love everything about that film. Even CGI Peter Cushing, which I'm going to say this, people have, I think, are mixed on that. I feel like you could not have done this story with the way they made it without having Tarkin in it.
Yeah,
So
you can't not have Tarkin there. That's just it's unavoidable given when this movie takes place.
Yeah.
So the thing is, though, when he's reflected in the window, he looked amazing. I mean, they could have probably just done a lot of over the shoulder shots and just had him kind of reflected in things, and I think that would have worked too.
Yeah.
But that's just me being super nitpicky. That doesn't really bother me, like the way he looked. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But I just remember when he was actually like mirrored, it looked perfect.
Yeah, like they did with the where tech was when that movie came out, it was the most cutting edge thing.
Yeah,
It was very
exactly.
cool. And especially because like until you see him on screen, they've given no indication that character was in the movie at all.
Sure. Yeah.
So then all of a sudden he shows up. I was just like, holy crap, they kept him in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's an actual character. It's not like they're just using old footage.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I
So
once
that
called my
was cool
grandma
to see.
Grandma Tarkin. She did not get it.
I'm almost out of sound bites for you. Anyway, Matt Reppert,
She held together. I love this baby.
you now have a 2-point lead, 6-4 over Matt Moore. I'm lost. Is it us or is it you guys on this?
It is.
you guys.
All right, moving on to 2017. Mr. Repper, take it away.
So for 2017, I picked a movie that teared me up more than I thought it would, and for many reasons, and that is Logan, the swan song for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, as well as Patrick Stewart's Professor X.
Movie should have been nominated for like 1,000 Oscars and it didn't get anything.
I mean, but like the thing is though, is that Logan took, because Hugh Jackman has been the face of Wolverine in mainstream media for like since basically the 90s when the first X-Men movies came out. But Hugh Jackman, it was a perfect send off to his character. The whole idea of he's slowly losing his powers and him trying to deal with that. And also the fact that Professor X basically killed the X-Men on accident because his mind is starting to degenerate. Patrick Stewart did not get enough love for his portrayal of essentially a mentally broken Professor X.
Yeah.
The scenes in that movie, like one of my favorite scenes is that whole thing when he starts having the seizure in the hotel and and he's trying to claw his way through the hotel right when they're storming the room. And then that whole thing where he's killing them one by one. And then of course the end scene with X and then turning it on the grave. Like I actually teared up immediately as soon as that happened. I was like, oh my God, like that is just perfect. That's like if I'd seen the movie in theaters, I probably would have just bawled my goddamn eyes out like a baby there in the theater. So
I also have to give a shout out to Stephen Merchant in that movie.
Yes.
That man and everyone's favorite villain, Richard E. Grant.
Yes.
All right, Matt Moore.
For me, it goes back to I stuck with my original choice for this one, which was Jordan Peele's Get Out.
Ooh. Oh God damn.
Talk about reinventing a genre. This movie. I mean, it's again. I mentioned it when we talked about it, and I'll mention it again. I have nothing but respect for a man that can craft an entire film based off a 1980s Eddie Murphy joke.
Yeah.
And the fact that he created it and he broke convention in such a brilliant way with this movie. And then created such a great story. Like it was a story where you never knew what the twist was going to be. And even if you thought you knew what it was, the way that he presented it was just brilliant. Every single turn was phenomenal. It was just a great thriller horror film for me, and really brought Jordan Peele to the forefront of this. He's not just a funny man. This guy is a brilliant writer.
Yeah.
All right, voting, Brittany.
X-Men's one of my favorite. It's my favorite comic book series ever. But I haven't seen Logan. I know. No, I was busy that year. You're allowed to be busy and not see a film.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
How many films on here have you not seen already?
A ton of them.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, as much as I'm a huge X-Men fan and I wanted to see this movie, I missed it when it was in theaters and I haven't seen it yet. It's not like it's been playing on TV. Anyway,
I'll throw it in your mailbox.
Yeah, I'll have to buy it and watch it. I know it's good. I've already had everything in the movie ruined for me by people because they don't know I haven't seen it, but it's fine. I'll still love it. I'll still cry. You know me. Anyway, that being said, I did see Get Out. I love Get Out. That movie was incredible. The whole movie, I was extremely stressed because the whole time I kept saying, get out of the house. I was like, these white people cannot be trusted. Get out of here. And that movie, everything about it from the soundtrack, you got, oh my God. You got Childish Gambino like immediately in the beginning and you're just like, this sets to the tone for the film. You have weird stuff happening.
Yeah.
The other people in the house, like the quote help, are not acting normal, and I'm just like, these are like, I called some of like the plot twist too. I was just like, this is not normal. This feels like, I don't want to ruin it for listeners.
And the lead bad guy was what's his name from
the tea scene alone with the spoon. Everybody after they see that movie does that with their tea for a little bit just to like mess with other people, and if somebody else has seen Get Out, because they're like, can you stop?
Oh, Bradley Whitford.
Stop moving your tea like that?
Yes. Bradley Whitford, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
He was the dad. Yep. Yeah, you're right. That's where I knew him from. Yeah.
Which for me, that's how I knew he was evil right away.
Yeah. You were like, can't trust him.
Can't trust him.
Yeah. But the end of the movie really got me. As soon as like the cop cars show up and you hear you see the lights and the siren, because you as a viewer are like, oh no, cops, this is how it looks like. He's a black man. But he continues to turn everything on its head, and that's why I love Jordan Peele and I'll watch anything he does. I already liked his comedic sketches, and now I know I trust him with anything. I'll watch whatever movie he does. So Get Out's my vote. Yeah.
I do
one day if I see Logan, I'll be able to change, but I really do like Get Out.
I have a feeling you would stick with Get Out even if you saw Logan.
Yeah, Get Out, I don't trust white people.
Damn. Okay.
I am a white people.
Neither do I.
Trust them.
I love at the end, you're talking about the ending, with the police cars, and I just love his friend too. He's like, I fucking told you.
Well, yeah,
I told
that's
you.
great. But that's the scariest part of the film for me, was when I saw the cop cars at the end. I'm like, oh my God, they're not going to believe him because he's black, and they're going to think this is what's happening.
Yeah.
It is a great film. It is a ridiculously great film. Jordan Peele 100% deserved that Best Director Oscar that he got.
It has the appeal to the masses in the local hole. Talk about coming out in a very important time as well.
Yes.
No, God! God, please, no! 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 No!
That was also me the entirety of that film.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, please
yes.
get out. No. No. Don't go to the sunken place.
I have to unfortunately give it to Logan though, as much as I do love Get Out, because one, Wolverine is my favorite X-Men superhero of all time. I love Logan. I love his backstory. I love his character. X-Men Origins is one of my favorite things ever. And I think even more than loving Logan itself, Patrick Stewart, what Matt was saying, Patrick Stewart's performance in this film is what makes it so damn good. And I believe this is James Mangold. Completely screwed out of a Best Director Oscar. Patrick Stewart screwed out of an Oscar. I wouldn't say give Hugh Jackman anything, but like
No, Hugh
Patrick
Jackman's
Stewart
fine.
and James Mangold, and possibly like a cinematography nod as well. Logan was just so damn good, and almost like Winter Soldier, I think breaks the mold a little bit of the superhero movie and kind of tilts it on its head. So I really respect about that. Having said that, I mean, listen, I'm not taking anything away from Get Out. It is ridiculously good. But I love Logan.
And I say, get out of here with that.
I mean, there's a good reason Logan's not on TV. It is not a movie that can be shown on TV.
Yeah.
Like it is
Not at
way
all.
too violent for that. So
All right, Steve.
No, I mean, I agree with everything that everyone's saying. I mean, Logan should have been the last X-Men film. I think it would have left, the property in a sort of a better state. I mean, whatever. It's all going to get rebooted now, or, whatever's happening with New Mutants. But Logan was a good way to end because, like Winter Soldier, it elevated, it took these fun characters and took them in directions that, the actors were able to rise to. And I mean, the last couple of years have been pretty miserable for me because I'm always like arguing about, movies I don't want to talk about right now. But one of the things that people like to throw at me is just like, oh no, you can't do serious movies. You can't do dark movies in those settings. And I'm just like, there's
Bullshit.
Logan.
You can.
Fuck off.
Have they
Right.
read a comic?
So-
Have they ever read a comic?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, come
So
on.
Logan is the penultimate example of how, you can take established, settings and go dark and it will work. That all being said, Get Out was a movie that it started a conversation for me about perfect films. And I consider Get Out a perfect film because its pacing, its acting, every single detail, including the color of the clothing. If you watch it, the red and the blue, just every detail, every single detail of the movie, I consider for myself personally perfect. So unfortunately, Logan is a great movie, and it's a tough year because, there were, I think, maybe actually 3 movies that year that were like amazing, but Logan and Get Out were up there. But for me, I have to give it to Get Out. It's just perfect. So what can I say?
Yeah. And going off the details, like his story writing was so good. Like that first scene with the cop when she's trying to get the cop not to look at the license. So they don't realize that, he's going that way and he's going to disappear. Oh man, it's just such a brilliant film. So, and it also,
I didn't even think about that.
yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, everything
Oh my
lines
God.
up.
There's a lot of
Everything
that
lines
movie
up.
that's like that. Everything is.
Yeah.
That is one of those movies where everything in it is deliberate, and that's when you know it's good filmmaking because you're like, between set design, like everything is thematic. And that's why, like, if you really pay attention to movies, you catch on to it way before the main character. Like, I mean, even back in the first few scenes, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And you
scary.
just say get out the whole time, and there's nothing you could do. You're stuck in your chair watching him, and it's just the worst.
Yeah.
There's also that added element where, as a person of color, meeting your extended family for the first time and all of them, and it's just this giant white family, it's sort of scary. I went with that with my wife.
Yeah.
And the first time I met her family, there were like 14 of them. So I understand the anxiety. And then adding that, you're just like, oh Lord.
Or that fact that you have that shared look with somebody else in the room that's like you. Like women already have this when they're in a room. If there's like a lot of men, you look for another woman.
Yeah.
Or like, I, as a gay woman, have looked for other people that I can like trust in a room. But like that feeling, I can't even imagine it for like, I don't have to deal with that based on skin color, but that has to be way more heightened. Like, I get it. I get the fear.
It's intense. So definitely my pick goes to Get Out for bringing all those feelings up.
All right.
Yeah. So 2018 is our side. So Matt Moore.
Yeah. Point for.
Oh, sorry, my
Matt
bad.
Moore.
Don't hurt the face. I'm an actor.
I got excited.
It is now 6-5.
6-5.
Oh,
Stressful.
It's so intense.
2018.
God, I almost want to stick with my original pick on this one as opposed to the
probably should.
Yeah, this film was fun, but I don't know, best film of 2018.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this
You know
one.
what? I'm going with my original. I'm not changing it. But I will say what I had changed it to only because this is getting. You know what? Screw it. I'm sticking with my guns.
Oh,
Matt.
I had originally picked Marvel's Infinity War for reasons that obviously are apparent to everyone. It was a cinematic watershed. It had literally taken a universe where things that had not happened, no one had, when the Avengers happened, we talked about this. Nothing had been done like that before. And then you have something like Infinity War, where we're crossing over all of the characters and having them work together, and everyone's like, I don't know if it's going to work, and damn it, it worked.
Well, you've convinced me, Matt. I think you should go with that.
I'm going to. I'm hemming and hawing. I'm going to stick with my original one on this one. I can't not.
Man, we had talked about going to see that film, Infinity War, for such a long time, and then when we saw it together, so much.
Just there was 15 of us that
we took most of that road.
We couldn't talk after the movie.
We were crying beside each other.
We were like openly weeping, knowing what was going to happen, and still it's like, it just punches you in all the feels.
I'm just going to, I picked Infinity War as well, because even knowing that they weren't going to win when the snap happened, I literally was in the theater. I actually went like, holy shit. Like, cause it caught me so off guard, because the whole, like, he hits him in the chest with the axe, and he's like, he's like grabbing him by the head. And I mean, in the back of your mind, there's another movie coming.
Yeah.
But literally, as soon as he just goes, you should have gone for the head. And the camera pans over to the gauntlet. As soon as he snapped, I literally was like, oh my.
And they tried to throw you off in the trailers by purposely making it look like he didn't have all the stones in that scene.
Yes.
And like making it look like they're fighting him from getting them, but he already has them basically.
Infinity War did what everybody was hoping that it would do, and is why theaters, instead of clapping at the end, at least in my experience, were left in silence, because it had the balls to not let you have any idea what was going to happen next.
For sure who was still alive or dead.
You had no effing clue what was coming next. And even once Endgame came out, you still had no idea how this was going to all end up. It was so freaking good.
Also, like Josh Brolin as Thanos, like I didn't think I could sympathize with a villain in terms of like just. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he's still an evil a-hole.
#Thanos did nothing wrong.
You guys didn't see the death glare I just gave Julian.
Yeah, because I know it pisses off Brittany.
It's the part that gets you is because you don't have to like him, but you can understand his logic.
Yes.
But that was just written for the film, and that's not really why he killed half the universe, and that pisses me off because I'm a comic book person.
Oh no!
I know, but
do you want to see death
and being like
in real life?
He's a genocidal maniac. Like, he does it to impress death.
Yeah.
And even if you want to change it to be some sort of ecological, you know what did it better? Matrix did that better by being like, humans are a plague. They're destroying the resources in the world. Like that.
Just picture though this movie Thanos.
I wish you guys could see Brittany's face right now. She's so pissed off.
Just picture this movie Thanos being like, guys, death is so hot, you should like see it.
The thing is, he does it in the comics, and she doesn't care.
No, she didn't give
She's
one
literally
shit.
like, why would you do that? And he was like, to impress you, and she was like, left on red at 12 p.m. Like, she literally like, you know what I mean? She's like, that does not impress me. He even tricked her. Nebula.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to get into it. Okay, sorry.
Well, this leaves an interesting situation because it is a point for.
Don't hurt the face. I'm an actor.
And a point for.
She held together. I love this baby.
God damn it, Freddie Prinze.
So
can I hear the runner-ups for this one, because Infinity War was not my choice?
I went. My number 2 was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That was my favorite
Any other
of the year.
Into the Spider-Verse
Yeah.
would have crushed this year. But Infinity War was like a once in a generation movie.
Yeah,
Into the Spider-Verse.
I'm telling you this right now. Had you picked that, I would have voted.
I would have voted for Into the Spider-Verse.
I would have voted for that one too, actually.
And my second pick, no one would have
okay.
voted for, but I love it and I don't give a shit because it's great.
Yeah, and you would have lost.
I would have, but I would have lost with pride. My second pick was The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
That movie was really
I
fun.
didn't see.
It's
if we had compared 2 movies, I just would have been It's a Leap of Faith, Miles. That's all. It is. I just would have been like,
Dude, when the music drops though,
yeah.
No, my God.
I just have to say, like with Infinity War, I mean that was a cinematic event. It wasn't even like a sequel. It wasn't even like it was something that might never happen again, and just that they were able to bring that together is just incredible. And
I literally can't see it coming together again like that.
Yeah,
even if they with their next phases they get something together comparable, it was the first.
Yeah.
It is the prototype. There will never be anything that can exceed it because it can't.
Yeah.
It's its own creation.
Yeah. Earth is closed.
If they do another arc, it'll probably, well, I know it'll be as good, but it won't be the same because you can't compare the two.
Yeah.
You also can't get those actors again to do that again for both those films.
I honestly can't.
Not if it's going to take them another decade to do it.
Yeah.
But
I honestly can't think of another villain like Thanos that could bring together this universe as he did.
The celestial bodies.
I do agree.
Oh my
with
God,
Brittany
that's another
and-
reason why I
and,
can't stand
Galactus,
Infinity War or Endgame. They didn't do anything with the celestial universe.
That's
they had
fair.
every opportunity. They didn't have the rights to half the characters that are
God.
actually in the story.
no,
I accept the fact that it was a cinematic event. I appreciate them as a cinematic event. But are they good films? No.
Yes.
I disagree. They are not good comic films.
They're good.
You're breaking my heart.
They're good films. But
You're going down a path I can't
follow.
okay.
I'm going to argue they are great films because they were the culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you were a comic purist, there's a lot that happened in those movies across the decade that was not good.
Oh, I know.
But they created their own entity and then they followed through with it based off what they created. And they gave enough little nods to the comics that the fans would be like, oh, I appreciate that, without fan servicey.
Yeah.
Especially in Infinity War.
I liked Infinity War over Endgame.
You did,
for
that's
sure.
true.
Yes, definitely.
So I will give that to Infinity
And
War.
I'm the
Is that
opposite.
I liked how they chose to end it with the snap and all is lost because I was like, good, make people marinate on this for a year.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep.
Brilliant.
All right.
They literally Empire Strikes Back that movie and it was phenomenal.
But
It worked.
Was Spider-Verse that same year though?
Yeah, it was. It was in the set.
Yes.
Remember we went to the screening in like November?
It was winter.
Right.
It was like their Christmas entry
Right.
because
Yeah, it was
they
like
wanted to have something that
Christmas.
was family friendly.
Yeah.
All right,
They
guys.
gave everyone an upper after. Well, it was Sony, so it doesn't really.
No, I would have voted actually for. I mean, I went to see both those movies like 5 or 6 times each. Okay, so I liked both of them, but I also consider Spider-Verse a perfect movie too, just because the beats of
Spider-Verse
it.
is amazing.
Yeah, the beats of it, just the soundtrack, everything about it just comes together for that one. And so, yeah, I love both movies, but
It was really interesting when me and Steve
2019?
saw it because we went to a screening weeks before it came out. And I don't know. It was majority of kids, but the parents were just floored as well. It was such a good movie, Spider-Verse.
yeah, couldn't stop talking about it. I mean, you and I promoted the crap out of that movie for
weeks.
Weeks.
I'm gonna take the unpopular opinion on this, and I'm gonna say that Spider-Verse was a great movie, and Spider-Verse did phenomenally well. I do not think Spider-Verse would have done as well as it did if it didn't come out after Infinity War, with everyone still in their feels over losing.
I completely
disagree. Everybody was excited to finally see Miles.
Yeah.
Like if it had come out 2 years prior before they'd done Homecoming, no one would have cared.
No, Spider-Man is a very he really does stand on his own as a character. I mean, that's why they needed him in the
MCU. He does, but that's when like everyone was so like, we want MCU Spider-Man, and Sony had really shit the bed on the Spider-Man properties up until that point.
Sure.
That if you hadn't had the Marvel Tom Holland making everyone love Peter.
I will say that the thing is, though, the promotion for that movie was not good. And so the fact that they got me and Eric in that theater that early, and then we just like everyone who got to see the previews, like just promoted the crap out of it, because no one really knew what to expect. The trailers were interesting, but I wasn't super excited for it. I was like, oh yeah, Miles, that's great. But I wasn't like, oh, I got to see it. I probably will see it. But after I saw it, like that was the thing. I don't think it was because of the new Spider-Man so much. I'm not saying that the movie itself, like I said, the movie is phenomenal, and the movie would have been a phenomenal movie any year they released it. I'm just saying that I think the popularity of it came because it was at the tail end of Infinity War, and everyone loved Spider-Man again, and they were so hurt because of what happened in Infinity War. They were like, we want to see a happy Spider-Man movie because we want to see Spider-Man again. Yeah, and then that Spider-Man gets killed anyway. So
listen, it's an interesting take. It is. I feel like we could argue about those two forever.
We'll have to do a Spider-Man
last
episode.
year.
2019.
We will.
2019.
Here's the deal, guys. With 2019, Matt Reppert can win with a point, but Matt Moore could tie with a point, but he has to get the point without a tie. So here we go. 2019 is Eric. It's on Eric. So Eric, you're going to take
Lord.
it.
No, we did 2018.
Oh, yeah, 2018. Sorry. Mr. Reppert, it's you, my friend.
So my pick of 2019, I know we all loved it. Like, I would crush this movie up and snort it if I could because it was that fantastic. Is Dr. Sleep. Dr. Sleep is the sequel to The Shining that I didn't know that I craved. It's one of the few movies where I was in the theater and I was just like, the movie just punched me in the face with how amazing it was. I haven't had that experience in so long. A movie that was just amazing from beginning to end. Ewan McGregor freaking kills it as a grown-up Danny who is basically broken mentally from trying to forget the past. And as he says, he goes like, me being drunk is the only connection I have with my father, with, the Jack Nicholson character, as well as what's the actress's name?
I can't remember her name.
I think it's like Kylie Curran.
Yeah, Kylie Curran.
Kylie Curran. Like, Kylie Curran is like, I hope to see more of her. She was outstanding as Abra Stone. Like, she absolutely slayed every single scene. Like, at no point was I like, this is just some child actor that I don't give a shit about. Like, with a lot of movies, like, great. I cared about Abra in every single scene she was in. When she acted as a possessed Abra, when Danny, quote unquote, was inside her head, she was amazing. Like, and it blows my mind to think that this girl who is this young was able to pull that off. Like some drunken dude waking up and is like, I haven't been hungover in a while.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And also, what's
Rebecca Ferguson?
Rebecca Ferguson.
I was gonna say Rose Ferguson.
Yeah.
But
Rose the Hat.
Rebecca Ferguson is Rose the Hat. Like, one of the underrated villains of cinema that,
she's excellent.
I think is going to stand the test of time. This movie, I feel, is going to become like a cult hit over the next few years, and people who are kind of in the know about it, because I've recommended it to people left and right. I've said, watch Dr. Sleep. I have not had a single person who's watched it said it sucked or I didn't like it.
Yeah, agreed. Same for me.
Yeah. So Dr. Sleep is my pick of 2019. So take it away.
See, this one's hard for me because y'all know I love Dr. Sleep as well. I thought it was the sequel that I didn't know I wanted. And then when I saw it, it was a sequel I didn't know could be as good as it was. I was very hesitant about that movie when it came out because I'm like, I had read the book when it came out and I loved the book. And I'm like, there are some big issues if you're trying to turn this into a movie because of the
Kubrick film. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were able to blend the book and the Kubrick film together in a way that I didn't even think was possible, and have them actually create this wonderful hybrid universe where it stayed true to the story, but it still acknowledged the changes that had been made in the Kubrick film, and it made it work in that storyline. That being said, I wasn't a huge fan of the ending.
I loved the ending.
A lot of people that read the book didn't.
Once they got into the hotel, I was kind of like, okay, but that's just me.
Yeah.
That's where they had to kind of acknowledge the movie.
Yeah, they had to because of the way Kubrick did it.
Because of the way it had been changed around. And that for me was just kind of, it was not as great an ending. But that's just, there was an it was the only ending they could have had. For me, 2019, the best film was The Irishman. And I'm going back on I go back on my original choice of The Lighthouse because I love The Lighthouse, but I saw The Lighthouse before I had fully watched The Irishman, and damn that movie.
You know, it's just wanted to say it's really funny. You originally had Dr. Sleep when we did this the first time, and then you switched it to The Lighthouse.
I switched it to The Lighthouse.
This is another
now
switch.
I'm switching it up again.
Yeah.
I'm switching it again. The Irishman is the purest, most quintessential Scorsese film that exists because it's Scorsese unshackled, where he can do a 3-hour movie and tell the story he needs to without having to worry about, is it marketable? Is it people going to sit through in the theater? Because Lord knows I would not have been able to sit through that movie in the theater. Because it's as long as most of the other big blockbusters, but it's not a blockbuster film. It is, I would say, it is a master class. It's a master class in Scorsese acting. Because you have his three big guys all on screen.
Yeah. I literally just finished it last night after watching it for a month.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know how you're going to go, man. That's
The Irishman, the TV series.
I'm just going to say this right now. I feel like The Irishman is a masterclass of absolutely nothing. I think it is Scorsese giving himself a blowjob.
Sure. Damn.
And I'm sorry. I totally respect your choice. I know there are people that love this movie. I just think that it is just so bland and boring when you have greater films that he's done out there, like immediately comes to head, like The Departed. I just, for one thing, theater or my couch, the length was way too long.
Okay.
The saving grace of this movie is quite possibly Joe Pesci, who I think was brilliant. I do think he was very good. I think Robert De Niro was quite possibly the most Robert De Niro in not a good way that he's ever been. Al Pacino was a caricature of the character that he's supposed to be playing. I don't know. I sat through it. And listen, and this is the thing. Like, I don't think it's a bad movie, right? I know I'm saying all these awful things about it, and it sounds like I think it's a bad movie, but I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it's incredibly bland. It's just it
Martin Scorsese is on Julian's list. He's going to hunt him down.
Scorsese is on my hit list. I will say that. Like, I'm surprised that you changed your pick, to be honest, because I heard you say really good things about The Lighthouse, and I heard Matt Reppert say good things about Lighthouse.
I didn't like it though.
I thought you did though.
I thought it was fine.
He said good things about it, but it doesn't mean he liked it.
I thought it was fine. I thought that Lighthouse was like a masterwork by William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, but the movie, movie delved too hard into the whole like, ooh, what's happening? Like, I don't need a movie to hold my hand, but at the same time, don't just put random shit on the screen and be like, you all figure out what it means. Good luck.
Yeah. Go. That was just it. Like in review, like it was the performances saved The Lighthouse.
Yes.
Like Dafoe and Pattinson chewing scenery around each other was great because a lot of the time that's all you had to go on was the two of them around a lantern chewing scenery. And it was beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and Willem Dafoe probably should have gotten a nomination for an Academy Award, I feel. Like
both of them really, but
his whole New Englander
Academy hates Dafoe. Yeah.
So
like the Academy just doesn't like Willem Dafoe, so he'll never get nominated.
Anyway, I'm sorry if that was uber harsh. I have ridiculously strong feelings about that movie.
The thing I have found is that The Irishman is a very polarizing film. People either absolutely love it or they absolutely hate it. There is no like, it was all right. Like there's never a middle ground of like, it was decent. It's like when you have a movie that exceeds 2.5 hours, you either love it or hate it, because if you're investing that much time in it, you're going to come out the other end one way or the other. You're not going to be like, that was bland, because a bland movie you have to sit through 3 hours of, you're not going to like.
I'm glad I spent 3 hours sitting there.
Yeah. But again, for me, it was such a Scorsese movie.
Right.
And that's like you said, even with your you use it as a negative. For me, that's like if you ever wanted if you needed one example of a Scorsese movie, that's the one you give, because it's such a Scorsese movie. There's no nuance to it. It is pure Scorsese with his 3 favorite actors that he was able to put on screen together finally.
Matt, would you argue that's part of the problem though, is that he went back to like the people that he just constantly uses over and over and over and over, and that they've maybe gotten too comfortable?
I would, but I wouldn't, because again, it was them. And again, he did mix it up. So if you wanted to go with how he would normally do it, he would have had Pacino as the boss, and he would have had oh God, I can't remember his name. Pesci is like a secondary character. He always had him as that wild card secondary character, and to have Pesci come to the forefront for the first time, really in his career, and to be able to, again, go toe to toe with these guys that he hadn't worked with like De Niro, he hasn't worked with in a long time. I don't think he's ever been in a movie with Pacino before.
And I do respect how well he used Pesci in this role. Like he was a huge standout for sure.
And I mean, Pesci, especially just given his history.
Yeah.
Pesci had a lot to draw from because he grew up at the time when these guys were around.
Yeah.
So he kind of knew, like he was able to kind of draw from his own knowledge on that. And I mean, De Niro to an extent too, because he was also from that era. And
right.
Pacino was caricature-y, but if you know a lot about Jimmy Hoffa, so was Jimmy Hoffa. Like he was almost a caricature of a human.
Yeah. Okay.
So to have Pacino kind of do his Pacino thing. Like, I mean, a best example, if you watch the movie Hoffa with Nicholson, the performance that he gives is very similar to what Pacino does, because that's just who Hoffa was. He was a loudmouth he was designed to draw everyone's attention, so they weren't paying attention to what was going on.
Yeah.
So you get a big angry loudmouth to run things, because then they aren't watching the books; they're watching him.
So that way they're off of their guard.
Oh my God!
Anyway, what are
we better score before Brittany does any more puns. This is the divisive score. Brittany.
Decisive score?
I said decisive.
You said divisive?
I said decisive.
That's a different word.
Damn you.
It's okay. I mean, it might be divisive. Okay. I'm going to have to go with Dr. Sleep. I'm a huge Stephen King person. People could already guess this ahead of time. I claimed that this is my film of the year for 2019, and I'm sticking to it. I've watched it so many times. So many times.
I too am going with Dr. Sleep, and I mean, obviously, after what I just said about Irishman, I don't think that counts as
Irishman is garbage. I hate everybody
surprised. But I do want to say it was also my movie for 2019, and I've never had such a fun movie going experience with Matt and Brittany going to see this together. Just the amount of times that we all just like oohed and awed and like were in shock during like some of the things that happened in this film. It was just a fun movie to see with like-minded people, if that makes sense. And it was my best movie going experience of the year and my best film of the year.
All right, Steve.
Man, Matt, you should have just stuck with Lighthouse. See, I love cerebral stuff, right? I don't care if the movie doesn't explain it, because Lighthouse, in my opinion, is one of those movies where, it doesn't hold your hand and it might not make any sense to most people, but there was enough of a thread that I was able to piece it together in a way that made sense for me. But you see, this is the thing. I'm not really keen on either of these movies. That's the reason why it's tricky for me. Because Dr. Sleep is, for what Matt was saying, and this is what I criticized him for the last time when he chose Lighthouse over Dr. Sleep, was the movie is amazing right up until the last third. There's just something there. It just kind of like, it almost feels like they're like, see, we recreated the Kubrick movie. See, look, it's the hallway. Like they just like shove it in your
coffee
face.
machine.
If they cut all those scenes in half, just have them. So you see glimpses of those ghosts instead of like full on like Rogue One. Like, look, we're a reference from another movie. Fuck, right? So like that was what I didn't.
Steve's already got no sleep and coffee, and this is the most enthusiastic I've seen him. I love it.
It's the most we've seen in a while too.
Yeah, no, I guess
you have to hit the right moments with Steve, and then you get some gold.
Yeah, it's true.
No, I mean, that doesn't ruin the movie for me. I think Dr. Sleep is amazing because, all the stuff leading up to that is so good. Like, all those characters are just really good. And then The Irishman, it's like, well, I mean, you kind of said it. I mean, it's a masterclass in Scorsese, and I'm not super keen on that. But I can appreciate it because I can look at it and go, okay, it's a thing where Scorsese does his thing, and he's got a very particular thing. I actually didn't really like The Departed. I'd have to say I like The Irishman a little more, but that being said, I'm not really out to get these movies. So, I don't know, man. It's like a great performance throughout with like Irishman, and then two kind of like sort of archetypal things versus 3 amazing performances throughout, but then an ending on, man, I don't know. This is painful.
Just stick with your gut.
Steve.
I know. Wait, didn't somebody not vote before? Like, I just want to go with Lighthouse and just like
leave him alone on an island.
Well, that was Julian because it was 3-3 nothing.
There was no point. Yeah.
Oh, there was nothing. Okay,
It's
okay. It wouldn't have made
right
a
now.
difference then. Okay. I guess I have to though. I have to go with Dr. Sleep, man.
Yes.
Sorry. It's just because I'm okay with The Irishman, but
No,
I don't know.
feel you,
I
man.
really like the performances leading up to the end more than the performances throughout The Irishman. Which The Irishman, I don't think it's too long. I think it's fine, but I'm just not a Scorsese guy. That's kind of the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if I'm not really a Scorsese guy either.
I mean, I could have gone with my second choice on this, but I feel like it would have been more divisive, so I'll leave that alone.
Wait, what was your second pick?
Oh, it was from Steve's favorite filmmaker. I was going to do Knives Out.
Oh, well, I haven't seen it, so
You would have maybe
I would have
gotten.
had to go with.
I don't know if you still would have gotten the vote on this side, but I know Brittany and Matt really liked that. I was not a huge fan of it.
It was fine. I
thought it was all right.
I didn't love it, but
I don't love it as much as Dr. Sleep.
Yeah, no.
I like
no.
Ana de
It was-
Armas.
Eric,
That's it.
your vote doesn't count at this point. But what
No,
would you have
it
voted
doesn't.
for?
Well, I would have, if you picked The Lighthouse, I would have picked that film, to be honest.
I know. I'm kicking myself. It's fine.
Although The Lighthouse wasn't my favorite film of 2019, I think Parasite or 1917 probably would have.
Oh, both of those were
been my
really good.
top.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Julian and I
but-
already debated about 1917.
I debated Parasite,
Yeah.
but I didn't technically see Parasite till 2020, so I can't.
Yeah, same here.
Fair.
All right, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The Irishman. Yeah, it took me a month to watch. Good Lord.
You also have 2 small children in your
That's
house.
true. I
so
did
it's
have
not
to
like you
watch
can have
it
that
in-
on casually while they're there because they're going to start coming out of it sounding like Pesci.
That's true, but I don't have the cleanest voice around them anyway. I thought Dr. Sleep was so good though. Yeah, the ending is a little weird. I like the book ending better, but they made the True Knot better than the book. So
Yeah, they really did.
they're trading off there. So yeah.
Well,
Dr. Sleep.
Hold on.
with Matt, I give you the point.
She held together. I love this baby.
And I also name you, Matt Reppert, the winner of the top 10 films of the decade, Matt vs. Matt Extravaganza. Congratulations!
Yeah, I got to hear Freddie Prinze Jr.
He's like,
8
but at
freaking
what
times.
cost?
The final score, if I do have this tallied correctly, is 8-6.
Yes,
That was really close,
correct.
though.
that was
So it
actually.
came down to the
was
last
close.
one.
Yep.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And a lot of it was because we had some ties and then we agreed on some stuff. So that's
Yeah.
fair.
Matt Moore, your punishment is you have to watch Wing Commander.
Yeah, I'll go with you.
no, wait, Matt,
I will live stream that later just so y'all can see me watching that movie.
I'll watch it with you. Live stream.
I would watch it too.
Let's do it.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I don't think any of you will hate it as much as I did because I grew up on the video games.
We'll love
and
it
I
because you
them.
I love the video game
no.
too.
No,
We
no.
had to talk about this, didn't we, Steve? Just recently?
Yeah. I actually went to see the movie. I wasn't there for the trailer.
Yeah,
You know,
I saw it in theaters,
one of my
too.
funniest memories was in the trailer for Wing Commander, they had this line that they cut in this very specific way that seemed like your standard epic, like, it's not a miracle, right? Except in the movie, the solution to that sentence is, it's not the miracle. It's genetics. And it was like the biggest, what? I mean, oh man. Anyway, so
I think
sorry.
Matt's
It's something I still
punishment.
remember.
Matt's punishment should be watching The Irishman with me.
That would be amazing. You should stream that.
Oh, I will sit there and enjoy that movie again, and I would enjoy you just hating it even more.
Oh man.
I don't think you appreciate my love of horrible films. Like I have some absolute gems in my collection just because people hate watching it.
Don't forget, we just watched Velociraptor.
Velocipaster.
That's
I
fair.
just called because I got the pastor part out because it was so bad. Velocipaster, sorry.
It's also indicative of the fact that you guys said you're doing that. And I'm like, oh, that movie's horrible. You're gonna hate it.
Yeah.
That should give you an indication of my kind of cinematic taste, where I'm like, the movie you're about to watch is horrible. Good luck. And you're like, oh God, you've watched it. I'm like, of my own volition.
Of your own Velociraptor.
Just from the name, man.
Oh man. All right. Well, that is going to do it. I guess we're going to be on both feeds here. So I guess Eric, why don't you guys go ahead and do your plugs and then we'll do our plugs.
Oh yeah, so thanks for listening. send us an email, contact us on social media. We are everywhere. Yeah, that's all we do at the end.
There you go. Same thing with us. You can find us at our website, everythingispermitted.com, and then everywhere else on social media at permittedpod. And yeah, guys, this has been fun. We have to do another list of some kind.
I love it.
Again.
Oh, 100%.
I don't want to be
video games.
Yeah,
Or
about to say
games,
video games. You or Brittany could be versus somebody else.
But for Geeks with Kids, for Everything is Permitted, that's going to do it. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good one.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Bye.